Test, test.
There we go.
Okay, test. Test, test. Test. Test.
Okay, it's time to get started. I'll call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Lawton City Council to order. Please stand for the invocation by Dr. Bill Schneider of the St. John Lutheran Church and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor?
Sir, I noticed the note here. It says to limit my comments to 3 minutes. Does that mean I have to pray short? Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we do thank and praise you. We give you honor and glory that you deserve. We thank you in this month of November for all of the blessings that you shower upon us. We ask that you continue to bless our military as they serve. Bless also this council as they serve our community. Bless them with wisdom and insight, that their decisions may be just and pure. Father, guide us and keep us in all things. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we thank you, Pastor Bill Schneider. Is that Dr. Pastor or Pastor Doctor? Okay. Please call the roll.
Hankins, Harris, Chapman, Burke, Hampton, Fortenbaugh, Johnson, Warren.
Okay, now it's time for some proclamations. We have Outstanding Citizen of the Month, Vincent Mesco. Is Vincent here? All right, Vincent, come on down front. And then we're going to have the Junior League of Lawton 75th anniversary. Is the Junior League here? All right, hey. And then we have the Extra Mile Hero recipients, Chance Harmon, Jose Andres Olivo, did I say that right, I hope, and Kay Love. So if everybody will be ready, can you hand that to me at the appropriate time, please? How's the Mayor's Commission? All right, look at you guys, ready to go. Well, is this working? All right, we're real proud of Vincent, and Vincent is the Comanche County Citizen of the Month, and we're proud of you. For Vincent Mesco, did I say that right? For his work with the Salvation Army of Lawton for the last several years, Vincent has spent 12 hours a month volunteering at the Salvation Army's homeless shelter. His main responsibilities during that time have been welcoming people into the shelter, being a friendly face, serving food to those staying at the shelter, and cleaning up after dinner. Vincent always has a friendly smile and a warm, welcoming spirit to offer those who come to the Salvation Army shelter. Let's give Vincent a big round of applause. All right, you the man.
One more. She wants
one more picture.
Thank you, sir.
Do you want to say something?
Just thank you very much, sir.
All right, does the Women's Commission want to talk?
We always like to talk.
Time limit.
Time limit, yeah. So thank you for joining us as we celebrate Mr. Mesco here and his volunteer work in our community. This is one of the things that we love to do through Mayor's Commission, and that's encourage our citizens. Man, this is like the best. So if you know somebody out there that's a volunteer or one of those unsung heroes, be sure you can go on to the website and you can find the nomination form there and get it to us. We would love to honor them. Thank you.
Let's give Vincent another round of applause, and also the Mayor's Commission. Thank you, Betty. Good to see you. Now the Junior League. Come on down. I noticed one of your members was on the cover of Lawton Living. Did y'all notice that? Uh-huh. We'll do our best to embarrass her. I'm trying to remember who it was I ran into, and they told me that the Junior League was 75 years old this year, and I said, we've got to celebrate. Was it? All right. And so the Junior League, you know, that was before I was born. So are y'all charter members? No? We appreciate groups that give back to the community. It's so important. What kind of community would we be if we didn't have groups like the Junior League out here serving? And we're going to talk in this proclamation about how much money you guys have done fundraisers to collect money and then put it back to work in the community in appropriate ways to enrich people's lives. Let me read this. Whereas the Junior League of Lawton is an organization of women committed to promoting volunteerism, developing the potential of women, and improving communities through the effective action and leadership of trained volunteers. Whereas the Junior League of Lawton was founded in October 1947 and affiliated with the Association of Junior Leagues of America in 1986 to become the Junior League of Lawton. And whereas since its founding, the Junior League of Lawton has donated in excess of $2 million and has volunteered more than 100,000 hours in the Lawton community. Let's just stop there and appreciate that. That deserves appreciation. Whereas currently the Junior League of Lawton's focus is on partnerships with other nonprofit organizations related to developing women and children, including the Marie Deddy Parker Point Group Home, Marie Deddy New Directions Domestic Violence Shelter, Pat Henry Elementary School, and the Lawton Food Bank and the newly formed Diaper Bank. Now, therefore, I, Stan Booker, Mayor of Lawton, do hereby proclaim November 15th, 2022 as Junior League of Lawton's 75th anniversary and encourage everybody to join in celebrating the Junior League and all that they have done for this community. Help me appreciate them. Hey, I just follow orders. You tell me where you want. Okay, you want me to get down? Get down. One more. Sorry, I can't hold it. Okay, you're good. Here we go.
Those knees.
Thank you. Would you like to say something?
Well, it's something that I joined right after we moved to Lawton, and you get to know all organizations, and your heart really gets in it. And then look at me, 85 years later, and here I am. But, you know, it's in your blood, and it is, I think it's one of the best organizations going on. A lot of things that Jaws of Life, that we brought the first mammogram machine to Lawton. Yeah, I see Barbara Moeller back there. She could start naming stuff too. And Chris Gill, she was part of Junior League. But it's just an organization that goes on, and it's. I'm so proud of these girls for giving it a boost again. It's been, COVID's been hard on it.
Rejuvenate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you for giving to your community, for helping people. Give them another round of applause. Okay, now we're going to do Extra Mile. If Chance Harmon, Jose Olivo, and Kay Love, and Jose's going to help me with this last name in case I'm saying it wrong. Chance got to hug everybody on the way out. How do I say that? Olivo. So I said it right? Yeah. I got it right? You got it right. Okay. And Kay, I thought Kay was here. Come on down, Kay. Hi, Kay. Okay, so what I'm going to do, we have, this is something that the city of Lawton signed on with, this Extra Mile Hero, and it's an opportunity to appreciate people that go the extra mile. And I look for every opportunity that I can to be uplifting to people and uplift people that are giving in our community. And so these three individuals certainly fit that. And I'm going to read a little bit about each one of them individually. But first, what I'm going to do, I think I'll read about them and then read the proclamation. So today we have Chance Harmon. And Chance is the managing director of the Lawton Community Theater and serves the community in the most entertaining and unique way by bringing to life productions we know and love, to include Annie, The Wizard of Oz, and always Patsy Cline. Did you play Patsy Cline?
I wish.
Just to name a few. Harmon is dedicated to building a strong community theater and understands it starts with the youngest of actors. In addition to making sure the community's youth is engaged in theater, Harmon serves on National Endowment of the Arts Consultant Committee for North Texas and Southern Oklahoma, and he's a board directive consultant for the theater boards across the country, and most locally, Harmon is on the Arts for All Gala Committee. Let's appreciate Chance. And Jose Olivo, did I say it?
Olivo, yeah.
Okay. I was just checking to see if you knew. Jose is a dedicated citizen to the city of Lawton. He volunteers with many organizations, including Hungry Hearts Feeding Ministry, C. Carter Crane, Marie Deddy, Youth and Family Services, and their annual Domestic Violence Walk, just to name a few. Jose serves on multiple boards and is also a member of the Young Professionals of Lawton. He is currently pursuing a master's degree in behavioral science, and he hopes to one day become a licensed counselor to further help people in need. Let's appreciate Jose. And Kay Love is everywhere doing everything. And Kay cares deeply for the city of Lawton and gives her all her time and effort to helping others. Kay became legally blind in the late 70s and since then has dedicated her life to volunteering in the community. She's volunteered with the Senior Citizens Hotline program called the PAL program, checking on the elderly where homebound due to health issues. Love also brought attention to the Lawton Area Transit System, LATS, and the importance of transportation for those with disabilities in our community. Kay had a key role in creating the Lawton Council of the Blind chapter and is now president of the local chapter. And I might also add, it's not in my notes, but it is the most active Council for the Blind chapter in the state and gets so much recognition for what we have done here. Now I'm going to read the proclamation, then I'll hand them out. I'm just going to read it one time because they all say the same thing except for your name. Whereas Lawton, Oklahoma is a community. Wait a minute. We forgot to appreciate Kay. We got to appreciate her. Sorry. Okay. Whereas Lawton, Oklahoma is a community which acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists within the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. And whereas Lawton, Oklahoma is a community which encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, friends, family, and community. Whereas Lawton, Oklahoma is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations within its community who go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of the community. Whereas Lawton, Oklahoma acknowledges the mission of Extra Mile America to create 550 extra mile cities in America and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1, 2022. We're a little late, aren't we? Now, therefore, I, Stan Booker, do hereby proclaim November 1, 2022 as Extra Mile Day with special recognition to these three folks. Let's give them another round of applause. Hold that up for the picture. Here's Kay. Kay, hold this up. All right. All right, let's give them another big round of applause. Okay, let's move on. We're going to come back to the reports, and we're going to do audience participation because I see Brad Cooksey here, and he's got a presentation to make. Audience participation. Anyone having an item of business to present to the City Council that does not appear on the agenda, please come forward at this time. Brad, come on down. And anyone else that wants to participate in audience participation, if it's not on the agenda, did you read them out? No.
Good afternoon, Council. It's good to see you guys. Back on October 26th, roughly 3 weeks ago, we had our LEDC annual luncheon, and our guest speaker was Jay Garner. He's a nationally known site selector, site consultant that came in and made our presentation. We thought he did a great job. Part of his presentation was this book that he passed out to everyone, or that we gave everyone who attended. And by the way, we had 275 attendees at our luncheon, which was a record. We had 27 sponsorships. Obviously, that makes a big difference when we have those types of sponsorships. But it was very well attended. Jay did a great job. And this book, Economic Development is Still Not for Amateurs, is a good read. Some of you have already received it. And if you've read it, great. If you have not, I'd encourage you to read it. It's got some good information on it. If you'll open it, and if you'll look at just chapter 1, and chapter 1 is effective leadership equals community prosperity. And I just want to call out a sentence on page 2, towards the top middle. It says, governments are a key factor in determining how effective speed to market can actually be. So this is where certainty, simplicity, and speed are paramount importance. One of the things that this addresses is teamwork. And I cannot stress enough how excited and grateful we are for a city council that has been able to work with us on several different things. We've been able to call short meetings in short terms, and y'all were willing to act very precisely on those things, so we greatly appreciate it. But this book and this read is about how the community can be very successful in economic development, and the things that we're doing are the right things to lead us down the road to success for economic development. Mayor, do you have any other comments that you want to add as far as this book is concerned?
Well, I do, but I can't make them according to the rules.
Okay.
But I do have the reports coming up, so
Okay,
thank you.
great. Well, again, we just want to say thank you. We appreciate everything you do. If you have a free moment, read this. And it's got some good info in it and good dialogue. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Is there anybody else that would like to come forward under this item to speak on anything that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, I'll close audience participation and move on to reports. And council, what I wanted to talk about was on page 2, something that we've already begun to address here is that does the government jurisdiction have customer-friendly processes that define simplicity, such as a one-stop permitting shop? And I bring that up because the council put in place a special committee to work on the processes for license and permits. And so that's so important to the economic development factor and speed to market. The other thing is that we've got to be talking about, we talked about this a little bit at LEDC yesterday, is a dedicated funding source for economic development or industrial development. And with that, I'll start down here with Mr. Warren.
A lot of times I'm maybe negative, but it's the end of the growing, I know it's a surprise. It's the end of the growing season, and sometimes I get on here and I talk about tall grass and weeds and things of that nature, and I won't do that this time. I just want to tell everybody out there that keeps that grass mowed and keeps those curbs clean and keeps that sidewalk clear that we appreciate it, and that's what makes us a better city.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Fortenbaugh.
I want to show appreciation to the fire department. Everybody up here knows why, but I was eating dinner Sunday night, and I saw a big orange ball of flame outside the kitchen window, and my truck caught on fire. It was one of those diesel block heaters, so I'm never using that again. But
It worked.
I got to just real quickly, yeah, it worked. It heated it up. My wife was on the phone with 911 talking to our dispatch, and within 20 seconds, I heard the sirens going at Station 7, and they were on their way, and they got there fast. And I was standing there with a pathetic little water hose trying to keep my house from catching on fire. So I have no doubt they saved my house. They didn't save my truck, but they saved my house. And I really appreciate that, and the professionalism of all of those guys that came out.
Well, that seems like a great opportunity to appreciate our fire department. Thank you, Mr. Fortenbaugh. Mr. Hampton?
Thank you, Mayor. This Thursday is the Great American Smokeout for those people that want to take an opportunity to quit smoking. I smoked as a young man myself. I did not inhale, though. If you want to take that opportunity to quit smoking, then that would be a great opportunity. There'll be others that are there, and there's resources that Sandy Foster and some of the people with TSET have. With that said, we updated our smoking policy, I think last council meeting, and I just had a little statement that I have to say. I agended that item, but it needs to be on record that appreciation, thanks, and credit should be given to Councilwoman Johnson, whose hard work on researching and actually developing that tobacco and vaping policy that we now have in partnership with TSET and some of the tobacco things. And also, I would be remiss not to mention Sandy Foster, who worked with her on that policy. So stop smoking. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Hampton. Mr. Burke?
Yes, I just want to do a couple of things. First, I'd like to, if you haven't noticed, PSO and their affiliates are going across our city replacing all of our old, yellow, ugly lights that I complained about for the last, 15 years. And they are doing exactly what we hoped they would do, and the city manager has gotten sick and tired of hearing me complain about those lights. And they started on the east side of town, thank goodness. I think that was because it was me. But they started on the east side, and they're working this way. If you go to 11th Street today, they're actually on 11th Street replacing those lights. I've been to neighborhood watch meetings, and they've said they go through the neighborhoods as well, not just the thoroughfares. So it makes the neighborhoods look better and brighter and cleaner, and it just puts a new light. And so my whole story has always been, if you light it up, the cockroaches run away. It's what my grandma always told me. So, so we're going to get rid of the cockroaches, and we're going to keep it lit, and we're going to make it look nice, and Cash Row will be nice, and I can't wait for all of those old, ugly lights to be replaced. The only other thing I have is a shout out to the Holiday in the Park Committee and the City of Lawton for all the hard work that they've been doing to get the park ready. I chaired the very first Holiday in the Park committee in 2007, almost 16 years ago. And we had a handful of lights from businesses, and we had about 4 extension cords that could maybe go without popping a fuse. And that has changed. Our world has changed. We're finally funding it. As the mayor always says, we got to figure out a way to fund it. Well, we fought to figure out a way to fund Holiday in the Park, as well as we do other events like the fireworks display. So please come out on November the 19th and be a part of the parade. It's going to be really cool. Krista has worked her tail off, the chamber. Everybody has just worked so hard to get this ready, and so I can't wait for that to happen. And I know I won't see you or hear from you again probably until after Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to all those out there, and be safe. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And Ms. Chapman.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I want to echo what Councilman Warren was saying. You know, if you are fortunate enough to have a sidewalk, which I don't have a sidewalk in my neighborhood, whether you're a commercial owner or a home owner, take some neighborhood pride and be a good neighbor. Mow and edge that area. That helps keep Lawton clean looking and fresh looking. And I just hope everyone will take a look at that. And also, I do wish you Thanksgiving blessings.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Harris.
Yes, I need to echo what Sean said. Thank you to the chief and the men of Station 2 that came to my aid during the last council meeting. Thank you also to the city manager and the mayor for having a plan in place. For those of you who don't know, I started having seizures occasionally, and so they were able to recognize I had one and remove me and got me safely taken care of. So thanks to Chief again. Thank you to the men of Station 2. I also want to say congratulations to those that are working on the Holiday in the Park. I drove through it the other night. It looked awesome. And I'd just like to say to the mayor, there is a Ferris wheel in the park. And so it's awesome.
I'm afraid they'll stop while I'm on top. Ms. Hankins, thank you.
It's a team. It's a team, the city, citizens, and us. It's not just us up here making decisions. And I've said that over and over again, picking up the trash, keeping your yard up. That's the bulk of it, is what everyone does. And we obviously feel pretty appreciative of our police officers and the fire and people that take care of us. And they do a good job, and we do need to appreciate them more often.
Okay, and with that, we'll move on to the consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted with one motion. Should discussion be desired on an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda prior to action and considered separately. Council, I don't have any request at this time. Does anybody want to pull an item to speak?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion to approve is presented, and a second. Please vote. The motion carries 6-0. Okay, and we're going to a little change of order here. We're going to take care of item number 7 first. So item number 7, consider receiving an update from staff concerning the research on the potential sale or use of approximately 92.5 acres, also known as tract of E10, of land located on the west side of Lake Ellsworth, and direct staff on further action as necessary. Include an update on the appraisal process and the obtaining of the Attorney General's opinion. Additionally, receive an update on the anticipated completion of the Lakes Master Plan. Dwayne.
Mayor and Council, a few months ago, this item came before Council, and Council directed staff to go out and basically get a cost estimate or an appraisal on the potential sale of that property. We've employed a gentleman by the name of Kelly Hurt. He's a PhD in environmental science, completed his postdoctoral internship on water quality and remediation at the U.S. EPA's Robert S. Kerr Lab in Ada. I'm just going to give you a real quick summary. I provided everyone with a copy of a preliminary market appraisal. This gentleman also worked as Chief Environmental Officer for the Chickasaw Nation from 2004 to 10 and as the Chairman of the Ada Water Resource Board. Very highly qualified. He owns his own company at this point called Land Doctors, where they specialize in the sale of agriculture, recreational properties. His preliminary analysis basically was that the property is valuable to the city of Lawton in the following ways. It's lake access, highway frontage, future public use development potential, and water quality. He also notes in his report that the properties near or on large lakes are highly desirable because there's a limited supply of land that meets the description, particularly in southwest Oklahoma, where large bodies of surface water are relatively rare. He describes it as the highway frontage and access to water and electricity are important features of the property. Ease of ingress and egress, in addition to the visibility the highway offers, are important factors to consider when you value the land. These types of properties near a lake can be very attractive to developers, as there are huge economic incentives for them to acquire and develop the limited number of parcels that exist near large lakes. Maintaining water quality is also important to the city of Lawton, both from a drinking water standpoint and as a recreational draw. He says Lake Ellsworth's property has additional value to the city in terms of avoiding development that could degrade water quality and require additional water treatment steps in the future. In conclusion, he notes that given the uniqueness and features of the property, along with its proximity and importance to the city of Lawton, his preliminary opinion is that it would certainly demand a price much higher than the normal farm and ranch or recreational property. He says that the water is the key, and although that Lake Ellsworth does not have the draw of a Lake Texhoma, the opportunities to purchase land near it are far more limited than with Lake Texhoma because of its smaller size. In addition, access to large bodies of surface water is limited in this part of the state. Balance of supply and demand leads him to believe that the value of the property would be near that of the recent sale near Lake Texhoma. Specifically, he brackets the range of value from $25,000 to $40,000 an acre for that piece of property. We do have a certified appraiser that is doing an appraisal for us. We should get that completed by sometime after the first of the year. We're expecting that in January, February timeframe. They're very busy, and it takes a while for them to get that done. So this gentleman here, this is the preliminary report. He will complete the market analysis after he comes down and does a site visit, goes around, photographs it, and views it. But this was, I told him I needed something to present to council to give you an idea of where we're at in that process.
Mr. Warren.
Just for the record, was the individual that was tasked with doing this was he privy to the information in the statutes that this property can't be built on and no agriculture can be done there?
I didn't specifically cover that. Given his credentials, I would think he's very well aware of what those are. I can double check that and make sure that's included in his next report or in the final report.
I think that's going to be important because we're still trying to find that out. I think the city attorney may have more information on that in the next day or two. But yeah, I think that's very important because there's a big difference between land that we're previously talking about restricting to the point that nothing could be built there, nothing could be done there. It couldn't be grazed. It couldn't be, well, you couldn't run cattle there. You couldn't do anything else there. Versus being able to build, a microchip factory there or whatever, this gentleman assumed that you could do there. So if we can get that in the next report, I definitely would want to know that information.
John.
So Councilman Warren, to answer your question, yes, I've got an appointment tomorrow with the Oklahoma Assistant Solicitor General in the Attorney General's office. So fairly high-level attorney that I'll be speaking to that will hopefully give an opinion on this matter, and specifically what I'm referring to here is Title 11, Section 37-104. And, there was some discussion, at least initially, whether or not the statute even applied to the given situation. So a couple of months ago, we were asked by the state AG's office that when we purchased the land, was there any provision either in the deed or any sort of restricted covenant that discussed the municipal water, or Ellsworth being a municipal water supply? So my real property administrator, Cindy Augustine, actually found those deeds. So the city purchased the tract known as E10, the 90 some odd acres in 3 installments, one in 1956, one in 1958 from a Mr. James Wahawakini, and then the third installment came in on October 8th, 1960 from a gentleman named E.P. Wilkinson, who owned a livestock company. So specifically in those last 2 deeds, it specifically mentions the municipal water supply in those deeds. So given that new information, we were told that the statute was applicable and that the state AG's office would weigh in. So hopefully we'll have some answers tomorrow.
Fortenbaugh, did you have anything?
I just wanted to ask, Mr. Kelly Hurt, is he a licensed appraiser?
He was at one point. He's a broker now. He owns a real estate company, and that's what they specify him.
Thank you.
I will tell you that as part of his process, he did pull several comps that were similar to this in order to arrive at his.
Does anybody have anything else they want to say? I'm wondering when you're wanting this to come back. Are you wanting to wait till the appraisal comes back in January, or you want the city attorney to bring it back?
I would like for it to come back as soon as John has some, I would guess the next city council meeting.
Okay, so there's no action today, but we bring it back when the city attorney has the information?
Correct.
Is that correct?
And we get an answer as to whether this gentleman considered the statute whenever he made that report.
Okay. Anybody else before I move on? Okay, we're going to move on, and that will come back when the city attorney has more action. This takes us to item number 5. Hold a public hearing and adopt a resolution declaring the structures located at 1808 Northwest Irwin Avenue, 1814 Northwest Irwin Avenue, 2003 Northwest Smith Avenue, 2004 Northwest Smith Avenue, 2123 Northwest Pollard Avenue, 2148 Northwest Smith Avenue, 2217 Northwest Pollard Avenue, 2316 Northwest 28th Street, 4510 Southwest K Avenue, 4555 Southwest G Avenue, 4603 Southwest H Avenue, 7604 Northwest Baldwin Avenue, to be dilapidated pursuant to Section 651 Lawton City Code, ordering the owner to abate the nuisance, authorizing summary abatement, and authorizing the city attorney to commence legal action in district court to abate the nuisance. Charlotte.
Okay, the first one that we have is 1808 Northwest Irwin Avenue. It's located in Ward 2. It does have an inactive water account. There's some dry rot and some damage to the outside of the windows. It is partially boarded, and I believe we've had to board this on a couple of occasions, and then there's some structural disarray up around the where the eave attaches to the side of the house right there. And then some of the protective treatment is gone, so it does have multiple property maintenance violations. Do you guys have any questions?
Go ahead.
That one window looks like it's been, or the outside frame looks like it's been pried open. Do we have, yeah, that one. Do we think there's people squatting there, or?
There weren't the day that they went out and took pictures, but we can definitely look into that and see if there's anybody inside.
Any further questions? Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing on 1808 Northwest Irwin Avenue. Anyone wanting to speak on this item, please come forward at this time. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address.
Yeah, hello, my name King Miller. I own that property, and I got someone want to buy right now, and I need some more time to get the guy he going to buy the property.
Okay, just so you understand that just because we put it on the D&D list does not mean we're going to tear it down. You still have the opportunity to sell it. You still have the opportunity, but they'll just have to fix it up. So it kind of gives you a time frame.
Yeah.
If you don't get it sold in the time frame, they'll work with you. You know, we don't want to tear your house down. We don't. That's the last thing we want to do.
That house real nice, but here, you know.
Sure, sure.
I got the magnet man, and here get ceramic, and here he break in and steal my ceramic, everything. He the magnet man.
Yes, ma'am.
And now he passed away now. And yeah, got one man, he want to buy the property.
That's good. Well,
And-
hopefully you get to sell it. But
Yeah.
putting it on the D&D does not mean it's going to be torn down. So just, they'll give you time. You'll just have to get a
Yeah, give
permit
me
pulled.
some time.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on 1808 Northwest Irwin Avenue? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
I'll move to approve a resolution declaring the structure on the property a dilapidated public nuisance and authorize the abatement thereof as set forth in the resolution.
Motion and a second. Discussion or debate? Please vote.
Harris. Chapman. Burke. Hampton. Fortenbaugh. Johnson. Warren. Hankins.
The motion carries. Move on to 1814 Northwest Irwin Avenue. Charlotte.
Okay, this one is also in Ward 2. It does have an inactive water account. It's boarded up. That one window actually looks like it's been boarded into the siding. It does have some decay around the protective treatments, all around the house. There's another window that's been partially boarded up. It does not have any utilities at this time. Any questions?
Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing on 1814 Northwest Irwin Avenue. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please come forward at this time. Yes, sir. We need your name and address, please.
My name is Jim Ritchie. I live in Oklahoma City. The owner of the property, Sylvia Smith, is sitting back in the white jacket, and she was just unsure what she needed to do from this point. We think that the house is structurally viable for rehab. I know it should have been done several years ago, but there's been some family reasons why it hadn't been done. But there has been some rehab done inside over the years. A new roof was put on it several years ago. But we have some people, contractors that's looking at it. We're going to assess where we are on the thing. And I think we want to get it rehabbed if it's viable. And we just want to know, is there we talked to our people, the licensed contractors or something in Lawton. Do they know who to contact at the Division of
Yeah, they'll know.
Neighborhood Services?
Yeah, they'll know who to get a hold of, and Charlotte can give you some numbers that you can get a hold of people and get that permit pulled. Whoever your contractor's going to be will know how to get that done.
Okay, so the process is they will we'll have some time frame to.
Yeah, they'll pull a permit, and then they'll have a certain amount of time to get started on the work.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Is anybody else that'd like to speak on 1814 Northwest Irwin Avenue?
I also have one more question. And this home is a residential home, but it has been unoccupied for several years. The owner lives right next door to it. And she doesn't plan on renting it out. She was just going to leave it unoccupied, but she was okay. I think she's going to be okay with spending the money to get it viable. Is that a problem being unoccupied?
I think it's a condition of the house, isn't it, Christine, not the
As long as
unoccupied?
it's secure and
Yeah, if the house is remodeled and looks like it is able to be occupied, then that's what would, and the inside is rehabbed to be up to code, then that's what'll take it off the list.
the inside has to be rehabbed up to code even though there's no utilities or electric or water? Or,
Yes.
okay, that's what I need.
Nope, you took some on my hand.
Is anybody else who would like to speak on 1814 Northwest Irwin Avenue? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Council?
I move to approve a resolution declaring the structure on the property a dilapidated public nuisance and authorize the abatement thereof as set forth in the resolution.
Is there a second? Second. A motion and a second. Discussion or debate? Please vote.
Chapman? Burke? Hampton? Fortenbaugh? Johnson? Warren? Hankins? Harris?
And the motion carries. Moving on to 2003 Northwest Smith Avenue. Charlotte.
So this property is in Ward 2 as well, and you can tell by the picture that it's boarded up. It looks like it's fully boarded up all the way around the house. It does have an accessory structure on the back that is also boarded up, and there's some decay and some siding missing, and some tree limbs there. And it is inactive in the water. Any questions?
Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing on 2003 Northwest Smith Avenue. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please come forward at this time. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council?
Charlotte, this one looks to be in considerably better shape. It looks like it has a new roof on it, so it does need paint. But is just because the windows are boarded up for protection, is that the reason that we?
Yes. Yeah, state statute says if they're boarded up for more than 6 months, then we're allowed to declare it dilapidated.
Is this truly dilapidated, though? I mean, compared to some of the others we look at?
Like Charlotte indicated, the International Property Maintenance Code states that if a structure is boarded up for more than 6 months, it used to be 1 year.
It used to be 18 months.
18 months, so now it's 6 months that it's eligible to be placed on the D&D list. I understand you to say that also it does not have utilities to it?
Correct.
Okay. So those are some of the indications we look at. The condition of the property, whether it's violation of any international property maintenance codes like soffit violations, roof, holes in roof, it's been on fire, boarded up, utilities, things of that nature is the criteria that we use to make determination, to make a recommendation to you guys to put it on the D&D. Of course, it's your choice of whether it goes on the D&D or not.
So I'm looking at this, I see a real estate sign in the front yard. When I look at the windows, it looks like there's been some spray, some paint that's been being sprayed inside that's on the windows. I'm just not comfortable putting this on the D&D just yet.
Okay.
Here's my thought, though. You're not the next door neighbor. And if you're the next door neighbor, you don't want to live next door to that. And that's where we end up, because most of these we don't go find ourselves. They get called in by neighbors that are saying, hey, I live next door to this and my property is worth some money if that's not next door. And so as a council member, in my mind, that's an eyesore because they haven't fixed it up, obviously, even if it's for sale. Before whoever the realtor was should have said, you need to fix this up before I can sell it. So to me, these are ones that we definitely have to tell and all this will make them do, Kelly, is they're going to get a permit, they're going to fix the windows, they're going to paint it, they're going to make it right, and then put it for sale and sell it to somebody. We don't want to tear it down, but leaving it not on the D&D makes it just the neighbors matter and matter and matter at us.
We have a motion.
I'll make it so that Kelly can vote against it if he wants to. I make a motion to approve the resolution declaring the structure on this property to be dilapidated public nuisance and authorizes abatement thereof as set forth in the resolution.
Have a motion. Do I have a second? Discussion or debate?
I have a substitute motion. To move to continue the public hearing on this matter to the next meeting, to give me an opportunity to go out and try to make contact and see what the,
Okay, we have a substitute motion. We deal with the substitute motion first. Is there a second? Substitute motion to continue the public hearing. Is there a second? Being no second, the motion dies. So we're back to the original motion to place it on the D&D list. Discussion or debate? Please vote.
Burke.
Yes.
Hampton. Fortenbaugh. Johnson. Warren. Hankins. Harris. Chapman.
Motion carries. Moving us to 2004 Northwest Smith Avenue. Charlotte.
So this one is right across the street, and actually the it's also Ward 2. The daughter of the owner came in yesterday afternoon. She was not going to be able to make it to the meeting, but the property is in probate. Her father has passed away, but they did receive notice, so we went ahead. We felt comfortable leaving this one on. It doesn't have active utilities. It's boarded up. Paint's rotting off. It's fully boarded up actually from the looks of it, and then there's some holes in the soffit, so it does have multiple property maintenance codes. That's the crawl space. Thank you. The crawl space is even boarded up to keep the animals out. It looks like somebody's been trying to get in. That board looks like it's coming off a little bit. Any questions?
So I think the city attorney needs to address the fact that this house is still in probate.
How long has it been in probate?
She didn't say.
Okay.
So we don't even know, I don't know when he passed away.
Okay, so if it's going through the process right now, we shouldn't destroy it.
Okay.
Do you want to continue this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to open this public hearing on 2004 Northwest Smith Avenue, and then I need somebody to make a motion to continue the public hearing to a date certain. Are we going to do these on the 13th of December, or are we
Yes, it's
passing
December.
December?
We
Michael?
have some in the agenda, in the Legistar for the 13th, but
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll continue to December 13th if somebody will make that motion.
I'll move that we continue the public hearing on this matter to December 13th.
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion or debate? Please vote.
Hampton.
Yes.
Fortenbaugh. Johnson. Warren. Hankins. Harris. Chapman. Burke.
Yes.
Motion to continue to December 13th passes. Moving us to 2123 Northwest Pollard Avenue. Charlotte.
okay, this property is located in Ward 1, and it is a fire damaged structure. The front window there is completely gone. It was not boarded up at the time of the pictures that were being taken. There's some underground storm shelters in the backyard as well. It's pretty damaged, missing window sills, some damage to the protective treatment there. That's a picture of inside the house, so it looks like it was pretty well gutted with the fire. Any questions?
Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing on 2123 Northwest Pollard Avenue. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please come forward at this time. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Council?
I move to approve a resolution declaring the structure on this property a dilapidated public nuisance and authorize the abatement thereof as set forth in the resolution.
Is there a second? Motion and a second, discussion or debate?
Mr. Mayor, I
Yes.
might add that this is, when we do this, this is safety for the citizens. It's going to be getting colder and colder, and 9 times out of 10, there will be fires, especially in this one that's completely open. They'll take the boards off eventually, and, you know, if it is boarded up. So it's a safety issue for our citizens, and that needs to be understood because the houses become target for drug selling and all kinds of dangerous things. So we do need to protect the citizens with these decisions.
Very good point. Thank you. Any further discussion or debate? Okay. City Attorney.
Council, I just wanted to read the statutory definition of dilapidated to make sure that everybody's on the same sheet of music. So it's a structure which is unfit for human occupancy due to the lack of necessary repairs and is considered uninhabitable or is a hazard to the health, safety, welfare of the general public.
Any further discussion or debate? Please vote.
Fortenbaugh. Johnson. Warren. Hankins. Harris. Chapman. Burke. Hampton.
Motion carries, moving us to 2148 Northwest Smith Avenue. Charlotte.
Okay, this property is also located in Ward 1. It is another fire damage. It's boarded up. The siding is melting off the house. The fire was so hot. There is a big hole that is covered with a tarp on one of the sides on the eaves. This looks like it's a patio cover in the back that was completely burned through. So, yes, it's now a skylight. Do you have any questions?
Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing on 2217 North, excuse me, am I on the right one? 2148 Northwest Smith Avenue. Open the public hearing on 2148 Northwest Smith Avenue. Please come forward at this time if you'd like to speak. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Council.
I move to approve a resolution declaring the structure on this property a dilapidated public nuisance and authorize the abatement thereof as set forth in the resolution.
Motion and a second. Discussion or debate? Please vote.
Johnson. Warren. Hankins. Harris. Chapman. Burke. Hampton. Fortenbaugh.
Motion carries. Moving us to 2217 Northwest Pollard Avenue.
So
Charlotte, I'm sorry.
This one, we're striking this one. It does actually have an active water account. They called the other day, the daughter of the property owner called the other day, and the property owner has actually moved back into this one. So someone is living in there and they do have an active water account, so they can have a trash can. So our recommendation is to strike.
So we're striking 2217 Northwest Pollard Avenue. Moving us to 2316 Northwest 28th Street. Charlotte.
Okay, this one does have an active water account. It also has a giant hole in the roof. It is in Ward 1. It's got some damage. It's missing the door frame right there on the side. It does have some foundation issues. The protective treatment actually looks like it's been burned or destroyed somehow. Any questions?
Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing on 2316 Northwest Smith Avenue. Wait a minute. On the page, we have 2316 Northwest 28th Street.
It's 2316 Northwest 28th Street. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the actual address is 2316 Northwest 28th Street.
Yes.
Okay, at this time, I'll open the public hearing on 2316 Northwest 28th Street. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please come forward at this time. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Council?
I move to approve a resolution declaring the structure on this property a dilapidated public nuisance and authorize the abatement thereof as set forth in the resolution. This house had potential had it been kept up. That's what we've got to do, is keep our properties up.
And is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion or debate? Please vote.
Hankins.
Yes.
Harris. Chapman. Burke.
Yes.
Hampton. Fortenbaugh. Johnson. Warren.
Motion carries. Moving us to 4510 Southwest K Avenue. Charlotte?
Okay, this one is in Ward 3. It does have an inactive water account. They did have a permit for the windows back in 2008. That's why they look so new. It is partially boarded up. There's some decay and some rot of the protective treatments and some holes. Right there, the eave is missing, some of it's soffit. And there's another big piece of section missing. So, any questions?
Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing on 4510 Southwest K Avenue. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please come forward at this time. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Council?
Mayor, Council, I move to approve a resolution declaring the structure on the property a dilapidated public nuisance and authorize the abatement thereof as set forth in the resolution.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion or debate? Please vote.
Harris. Chapman. Burke.
Yes.
Hampton. Fortenbaugh. Johnson. Warren. Hankins.
The motion carries. Moving us to 4555 Southwest G Avenue. Charlotte?
So this one is located in Ward 3. It is partially boarded up. There's some damage to the protective treatment. One of their decorative trellises has fallen off there. But there's some damage around the base of the structure. That would be a property maintenance violation. It's partially boarded. There's some more damage to the soffit there. They do not have active utilities at this account. Some more property damage. Any questions?
Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing on 4555 Southwest G Avenue. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please come forward at this time. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Council?
Mayor, Council, I move to approve a resolution declaring this structure on the property a dilapidated public nuisance and authorize the abatement thereof as set forth in the resolution.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion or debate? Please vote.
Chapman.
Yes.
Burke.
Yes.
Hampton. Fortenbaugh. Johnson. Warren. Hankins. Harris.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Moving us to 4603 Southwest H Avenue.
Okay, this property is also in Ward
Oh, did I
3.
talk
They
before
do have an
you?
active water account. However, the property's been boarded up. There's some damage to the protective treatments and to the soffit and eaves. It's partially boarded. Looks like just that front side's boarded. Screen doors hanging off on the back.
Oh, they took the.
Any questions?
Potential customer in there. No air conditioner, it won't work.
Charlotte, is anybody living in the property?
No.
Any other questions, Council? Seeing none, I'll open the public hearing on 4603 Southwest H Avenue. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please come forward at this time. Hi.
Hi,
Please give us your name and address.
my name is Gabriel, address 1002 in the Southwest Summit Avenue. I'm here representing my client of Jing Natkin, which is the owner of the property. As we speak right now, there's progress being done on the property. The siding is being repaired. They're preparing the outside for painting. And the inside, we're doing aesthetical, like flooring, baseboards, painting. So if we can make a motion to be continued, so you guys can check.
So
the
I
progress.
think, I think what you need to probably do is get a permit, a remodel permit, a D&D remodel permit. Are some of the items that are a problem in need of a permit, Charlotte?
The only thing that's going to need a permit, it's for the electrical. We're gonna pull permits and get a licensed electrician to do it. If you guys want, I can put the owner on speaker.
Okay, no, we don't want to do that.
Okay.
But probably what's going to happen is the council's going to put it on the D&D. We don't know till the vote, but you have 6 weeks, which is 30 business days to get your D&D permit, and then you have to show you're making progress. It sounds like you're making progress, so I think this is going to work out real good for you, okay?
All right.
Is there anyone else that'd like to come forward and speak on this, 4603 Northwest H Avenue? Southwest, excuse me, 4603 Southwest H Avenue. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Council?
Mayor, Council, I move to approve a resolution declaring this structure on the property a dilapidated public nuisance and authorize the abatement thereof as set forth in the resolution.
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion or debate? Please vote.
Burke.
Yes.
Hampton. Fortenbaugh. Johnson. Warren. Hankins. Harris. Chapman.
And the motion carries. Moving us to 7604 Northwest Baldwin Avenue. Are you striking this one?
Yes, we're striking this one.
Okay, there's no point in us going forward. That one's being struck. That completes item 5. Thank you. Moving us to item 6, discuss the sale of treated water outside the city limits. Consider whether to approve a resolution lifting the moratorium, approve revisions to Council Policy 52, and direct staff as necessary. Does City Attorney want to go first, or the initiator, Mr. Fortenbaugh? Mr. Fortenbaugh.
I'd just like to say in general, it's been over a year since we've been able to sell water meters to people that are on the side of the border of the city, or what the criteria is now. And my only intent is to try to push this along, because I get calls from people all the time. I'm ready to build. All I need is a water line. And I think Cindy's done a really good job of making that policy sound so that we can implement a new water policy. So at some point, I'd like to see us do it sooner than later and not wait another year or whatever.
Thank you. City Attorney.
Council and Mayor, my concern here with this agenda item is that the billing piece of this, and we're working in that direction, but we need to make sure that internally we're good with all of our charging first, because what I would really hate to see happen is for us to charge a outside water sales district more than we are allowed to in accordance with the settlement, just because we didn't have a good idea of who we're charging what, and then we violated the provisions of that settlement, and that exposes the city to additional legal liability. So that's my concern with moving forward on this item now.
Mayor, if you don't mind. John, I hear what you're saying, but we have taken forever to get to the point to where we can actually help people that are building. They're building in other communities because they can't build and use our water supply. They're building and moving outside our school districts because they can't build next to the city of Lawton. I know a person, Lance John, for example, who gave us a water line easement, and we put the water line in right next to his properties, and we tapped off of it ourselves because he gave it to us for free. He said, I have 3 properties here, and all you do is put the pipe there, and at some point, at any point that I want a water meter, you'll take care of me. And they said yes. Well, Richard was working on that before he left us, and Lance John still cannot build a house on any of those properties, and we are the ones that put the pipe there and told him, if you'll give us that property, we will make sure you have water meters. And we've not done our part, and that's on us as a council, us as a city. And to hear of, I appreciate the fact about the billing, but if we have to hand bill for a while, I don't know. Most people in business, they figure out a way to make it work. And we're in business to sell water. We make money off the water. We're not losing money. So I just hope that we can get past this and get people back to building near Lawton.
Mayor, I agree. I totally agree. Just to give a little bit of history, we did have this on the agenda to pass, and this basically the water policy is complete and pretty much ready to go. Part of that history, I think I was talking to Cindy about the fact that there's about 250 outside residences that we're having issues with, a number of different issues with, that we're going to have to clean up. It is no doubt that I talked to some of the staff to inquire about kind of where we're at with some of this, and I want to make a motion that we try to get this part done by the 13th of December, and at most give us a report as to what's left to get this completed, because it's no doubt that as it's already said, this has been carrying on too long, and those citizens those citizens or non-citizens that are qualified to get water to their properties, we do need to get this taken care of and lifted. So
just let me make sure I understand the motion. I think the motion is to direct staff to complete this by December 13th and bring it back to that meeting.
Yes.
Okay. And you're talking about what John was talking about, the getting together on the outside charge.
The financial part of
utility billing.
Of utility billing.
Okay, does everybody understand the motion? And do
Second.
we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion or debate? Please vote. Motion carries 8-0. Moving us to item 9, presentation and discussion of new utility billing plan, moving from 20 billing cycles to 4 billing cycles as recommended in the Novak report. Joe Dodd.
Mayor and council, I'll give Tracy a little bit of time to maybe get the PowerPoint pulled up, but to give you a little bit of a history on this, this move was recommended by the for the city to study it by the Novak report, which was done in 2020. And I'll kind of give you a little history over what we're looking at here and what was recommended by the, get my clicker to work, what was recommended in that report that we try to address. There were two citywide items, which were to develop a multi-year prioritized capital improvement plan, which is in the final stages of completion. And there was also to update the city's financial management policies and procedures, which are in progress. Some of the specific items was to develop a new deputy director position, which has been completed, create an accounting supervisor position, which is completed, develop a plan for integrating internal audit functions within the finance department, which is in progress, streamline purchases and vendor payment processes, which has been completed, streamline contract management processes, which has been completed or is in the final stages of completion, and then finally to implement an improved meter to cash process as part of the Tyler ERP implementation, which this is what this addresses. To give you an idea, basically meter to cash means what is produced at the water meter, what is recorded at the water meter, then the process all the way to the billing and collection of those revenues. Chapter 22 of our Code of Ordinances outlines the specifics for this service. By implementing a more concise billing process, some of the things that we can achieve are gaining efficiencies in redundant operations and processes, improvement of customer service, and improve the process for which to move to a process which is more typical of the industry standard. This goes into some of the details of that report. Currently, we have 20 billing cycles. So basically, we bill every single day. We are rushing to finish a billing cycle before so we can move on to the next one the next day. Not only is that 20 different billing cycles, that's 20 different cutoff cycles. That's 20 different times we have to send people out there to address problems at a meter, fix a meter, read a meter, or now we're doing electronic reading, but we read meters every single day. These are items that can be consolidated down, and that's what we're planning to do right now.
Can I jump in there for a little minute?
Sure.
The 20 billing cycles, or the large amount of billing cycles, is a leftover remnant of when they actually used to go and physically read the meters. So they needed to break it down into smaller billing cycles or smaller areas because they physically drove and walked those areas to read those meters. Now that they're AMI or automatic read meters, that is not required anymore. And this, again, as Joe Don spoke about, was the NOVAC report to increase efficiency. So the reduction to 4 is will more than be able to be handled by our software, and will greatly improve efficiency in that aspect of utility billing.
Part of our problem is the delinquencies. Our average rate of delinquency is about 30%. These are people that at the beginning of a new billing cycle still owe us from an old billing cycle. We're trying to get them shut off and trying to get them turned on. During this process, we have a run on people to pay their bill. Once we go shut them off, 50% of those people come in the next day to turn back on. So we have just a continual amount of flow through the offices, through utility billing, that if by consolidating, we can streamline that process, and we can have better accuracy in our billing and more time to check our bill out. Right now, the process just does not allow for that. Right now, we are by moving to 5 billing cycles, or from 5 billing cycles a week to 1, we're able to ensure staffing is appropriate for the front desk and the counter, because we have better ideas of when our high points and low points are going to be. Gives us time to check bills before they go out to ensure accuracy, and it's a better utilization of staff time. Right now, for each day, the process to get bills out the door and to the mailing agency is about 2 hours. So that's 2 hours a day staff is dedicated to getting the bill out. By consolidating this down to 1 billing cycle a week, I figure that will be about 4 hours per week instead of 10 hours per week. So we're going to save about 6 hours a week by moving to 4 billing cycles. The reason that it is consolidated down that far is that it's whether we run 1 billing cycle or whether we run 1 route or 5 routes, it takes 2 hours to do the process. The only length of time would be by adding meters to the calculation process. May add a couple hours to the entire process, but we're saving the hours by going out, by consolidating those down and not doing those redundant things that have to be done, following those redundant steps every time we run a cycle. So instead of 5 of them per week, we're doing 1 a week. Potential problems that I see. The biggest potential problem that I have been able to identify with moving from 5 to 1 is there will be 3 routes or cycles now that will receive 2 bills will end up having to pay 2 bills in January. They're really not getting billed twice because it's the one at the beginning of the month is for December, and the one at the end of the month is for January. So they're not getting billed twice, but it will seem to the customer that they are because they're having to pay that bill twice in 1 month. So what I intend to do for those customers that end up getting a second bill in January is to reduce their fixed cost by about half. Prorate that out to 2 weeks to give them some breathing room in January to make that payment. They'll still have to pay for the water they've used between the time it was read in December and the time that it was read in January, but it'll give them some breathing room on the fixed costs. I figure by moving to this type of billing, we will have about a 80% improvement on our efficiencies, and will be for the staff. This currently part of the problem is that if you'll look at the map here, these are our current cycles. So the way they broke this down was kind of by meters and the number of meters, and the low numbers, such here as R2, R1, R3, those are billed toward the first of the month. You'll see R4 out here is billed toward the first of the month. Everything around R4 is billed toward the latter part of the month. So we've got, and as I say, we're doing cutoffs every day. So we've got staff running from one side of town to the other, cutting meters off for non-pay and turning meters on that have been turned, where the customers have come in and paid. So in this particular instance, we've got one area in R3, we're down here cutting off or turning on because they have come in and paid. But on the other side of town, we've got them where we've got meter techs out there cutting things off. So they're having to run back and forth and back and forth. This new process will eliminate that. By consolidating down, we will mimic what is the cycles will mimic the bulk pickup that are done. So if your bulk pickup is done in the first week of the month, that's when your billing cycle, that's when your bill will come out. So if they're picking up your trash on Wednesday, their bulk pickup on Wednesday, you can expect your bills should be there by Friday. And so on. And so when we have to go out and do a cutoff, we have concentrated our area to this side of town. We're out for the third week, this area. The second week, this area. The fourth week, this area, the northwest area. The reason there is such a large difference in the areas that we're looking at here, and the second week it looks like it's a pretty small area, it's the consolidation of the meters. There's basically the same number of meters in each area, but this area of Lawton right here is what has the highest concentrate of meters that are being read. The others, like 1, 3, and 4, are more spread out. Then to further help the customer along if they have some confusions, about what they're going to be, when their billing cycle will be. We're going to have a link posted on our website. The maps will be posted on our website. We'll also have this link posted on our website that the citizen can actually go in and type in their address, and it will pull up which cycle they will be on, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Part of the Novak reports asks that we weigh this out against citizen convenience and need and city cash flow. This keeps us a consistent amount of money coming in every week. Not as consistent as it was on a daily basis, but consistent for every week. We have also worked to by consolidating this down, we've also been working behind the scenes to start moving people where they're in their billing cycles where they are closer together. So most people are only going to see a 1 or 2 day difference from their current billing cycle to the new billing cycle. Again, there are only going to be 3 of them, be routes 7, 13, and 17, that are going to see some big differences in their bill due dates. Again, this was a recommendation from the Novak report.
And Joe Don, this also mirrors one of our sister cities that's
Does
working
mirror-
with Tyler.
yeah.
If I remember correctly, Broken Arrow
Broken
has
Arrow
moved
manages
to
their utility system the same way with the same software and the same type of process that we're moving to here.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you said that there's going to be a link on the website. Not everybody uses that. Is there a way to put some type of notification on the bill?
We'll
as
put
it
that
goes
on the
out?
bill. We'll also try to get that posted into the social media sites also. So that we'll try to get everything, we'll try to use everything in our power to make sure citizens are informed about this move. This move does not take effect until January 1. So we've got the full month of December, November and December, or the rest of November and the full month of December to make sure we get that message out to the citizens. Just wanted to start it here so you're informed about the move, so you know about it when you start getting if and when you start getting phone calls.
I think the ledger and the Constitution could help us with that as well, Eric and Kim. I figured it'd be part of your story.
Joe Don,
Yes, ma'am.
for residents who have their utility bill automatically taken from their bank account, does this affect, am I going to have to change my?
It won't affect the way you do it, because right now, the way it works, your bill is drafted 20 days after your due date, after your bill date, when it was printed. That part of it is not going to change. So it will adjust it a little bit, either a couple of days, for most people, a couple of days forward or a couple of days quicker. But for the majority of the citizens of Lawton, it will have it'll only have a 1 or 2 day difference on their billing.
So we will not have to do anything with that as a
No, ma'am.
resident? Okay.
You will not have to do anything with that. That is set automatically when that draft day is set automatically when we run the bills, and that's 20 days after the day we run them.
Yeah, I had one question, and you might have already said this, but for the sake of clarity, the transition, we went through several transitional times with the water bills. This transition, this is going to be like a blanket transition, or is it going to be done like in incremental stages?
We will start it in January.
Yes.
So I guess the answer to your question is yes and no. Yes, it will start in January. We will be moving to 4 cycles a month in January, but it will be staggered throughout that month on the cycles, depending on the routes that are being consolidated.
Okay. Well, yeah, I know that, that some of the transitional stuff that we've been going through, now, I know it's all good, but we're digitizing everything. But I was just thinking of the amount of traffic that we get. We got a whole lot of traffic when we did the transition, like a blanket transition rather than incrementally, where people can come in, and there was a lot of frustration on the citizens' part, as everybody knows, when we just did the blanket thing and everybody was trying to get here at the same time.
Well, and like I say, for the majority of the customers, it's not going to be a huge move. Again, a day or two, one way or another.
Okay.
There's only going to be a minority of customers that they will see a big move. They will pay a bill, and then pretty much about 25 days later, they're going to have to pay another one.
Okay.
And for those customers, we're going to prorate out the base charges on that second bill to make it easier for them to pay 2 bills in 1 month.
Yeah.
Because we do recognize that that could be an issue.
Yeah, the phone traffic and there was a lot of complaints with the phone traffic and then foot traffic and that sort of thing, and that was why I was asking that. Thanks
Right,
for that.
and I'm hoping, I think we've got our phone traffic problems worked out. We are not seeing the long wait times that we were seeing back in March. We've gotten that pretty much ironed out. We're able to work quicker to get customers the phone calls answered, and we've gotten staff kind of retrained on a few things, so that if my supervisors see that they've got somebody that has been waiting 10, 15 minutes, they can jump in and pick that customer up and make sure that phone call is answered, at least get a callback number or something. So we're trying to address that also.
Joe Don, I assume for some people, getting 2 bills a month would be actually better. They wouldn't have as big a bill all at once. Did I miss something?
Well, they're still paying for the usage.
Right.
So the usage, if they from one billing to the next, if they use 1,000 gallons, they're going to get, or 2,000 gallons, they're going to get billed for that usage.
Mm-hmm.
But it's only for the month of January that they will receive 2 bills. It's only the month of January that they will receive 2 bills. After that, it irons back out, and it's 1 bill a month.
That'll be the hardest for people to understand, but I was thinking if that was going to be longer than just January, if people on fixed income, that might be helpful.
No, it's just for the month of January, and it's just those 3 routes. 3 are routes that we have now. Those are the only 3 that I see that are going to be experiencing 3 bills, and we can get that posted out on the. I have to figure out how we get that posted out on the web, so that and get those people notified also that those addresses are going to see an extra bill that month, and what we're going to do to help mitigate the issues that they may face right after Christmas.
Questions? Okay, presentation only.
Thank
you
you
so much. Moves us to item 10. Consider an ordinance pertaining to administration, amending section 2311-370 and section 2311-371, both within division 2311, article 23, chapter 2, Lawton City Code 2015, relating to the Capital Improvement Advisory Committee by expanding on the duties and terms of office for the committee, providing for severability, and establishing an effective date. Council, when I put this on the agenda, I was wanting some action, but I've since decided I want to think a little bit on it, but I do want some feedback. The idea here is to get it in the ordinance that the reason for this is to build trust. And the committee hasn't really been acting in the way that it was designed to act. is designed to come before the council and make a report. And ultimately, I wouldn't expect the committee to be making a report the way that we've seen Joe Painter make a report on what's going on, but to come before us and say they've reviewed the way the money was spent and that it does line up with the way the citizens were told the CIP. The whole point is develop public trust. Now, in that regard, what I've put in here, and I'd like feedback on this, is to add a person from the legal community, the financial community, and the business community to the committee to assure that we have those expertises on the committee that we may not get necessarily from ward appointments. And so really what I'm looking for is some feedback. Do you think we're on the right track here? The committee hasn't been working the way it's supposed to. I think we are close to getting the challenges worked out where they haven't been getting the financial data, but I think we're close to where that's gonna happen, and I'm just looking for feedback. Mr. Warren.
I would echo that. I do remember when this was originally formed, that the idea was that this committee would actually look at the numbers, look at the projects, and quote, unquote, approve that and present it to the council as something that they stand behind, and that they found a deficiency here, or they didn't, to give the council a little bit of an idea. I do like the idea of adding some professionals, because it's difficult enough. I know it is in my ward, and I know some other wards, it's difficult enough to get people to serve, period, much less to be able to pick and choose the professions or the expertise of those people that you would appoint. So I think that the idea of keeping citizens involved and adding some professionals would be a good idea.
Mayor.
Other comments?
Mayor.
Yes.
So I think this is coming out of the old CIP advisory committee we used to have. Talking to the person that I appointed to that, they never had any meetings. So maybe a suggestion is that they have regularly scheduled meetings and a posted meeting times, so that they know they're going to meet whatever third Friday or whatever it is.
Okay, that's good input. Would you recommend quarterly or maybe twice a year? What would you recommend?
I'd probably say quarterly.
Okay.
Is that already quarterly? I was under the assumption that was oh, really? I talked to the person that I appointed to that too. Just for clarity, for the citizens' sake, this is a CIP oversight committee with a member from appointed by each of the council wards, correct?
So currently the way it works is there are 9 members, 1 from each ward and then 1 at large appointed by the mayor. This would bring 3 at large, but they would have to come from certain professional fields.
Right, right.
The 3 at large, excuse me, would have to.
I echo what Councilman Warren said. It is no doubt you need to have somebody in there that knows numbers and somebody that has probably some legal background to try to bring some solid legitimization to the information that they're bringing to the council members, because for sure any type of oversight I think is going to be good for the council to know.
Okay. Other comments, Ms. Chapman?
So Mayor, I thought this committee was supposed to be meeting quarterly anyway already.
Well, unfortunately, I think there were some challenges. City Manager, would you like to address that?
There are challenges in getting the capital improvement management portal up and operational, coupled with Joe Don coming on board and trying to mesh the financials with what's actually happened in the capital projects. It's extremely difficult to do. I've heard our financial system described as that of rivaling Oklahoma City's and how complicated it is. So try and unravel and piece together what's happening and mandated by the citizens as far as the capital projects go compared to what's finances tracking has been a lot more difficult than we anticipated. But we're very close. I think Joe Don's team feels comfortable, Joseph's team feel comfortable that we're getting close to the point where we should be able to fire that committee back up and start providing them with data that's at least accurate, as accurate as we can make it with the information that we have, so they can make decisions, or not decisions, recommendations to the council on how the committee is doing as far as capital. And it's not just Propel. That's ad valorem, that's any specialty funding that comes along with that, because there's 4, 5, 6 different colors of money that will go through that capital improvement program and be monitored. So it's more than just Propel.
I'm not sure what that means, special funds of money going through there.
There's colors of monies that go there that might be enterprise fund driven, for example, or they might be grant funding. So when I mean colors of money, there's just different monies and how they are spent. Grant monies from the federal side require special oversight. For example, if we accept grant funds from a federal project, it requires that we follow the Davis-Bacon Act. We require the U.S. Steel, that we buy U.S. products. So there's different oversights that have to be looked at in accordance with all those projects. So it's pretty difficult.
Okay, thank you. And you did say one thing that has been a little bit of a challenge for me is we've been working on trying to get the right financial information since January. And I understand that we've had some challenges the way we used to do things, and we've corrected that. I'm trying to be nice. But it does create a little bit of concern, and I'm not sure we shouldn't have our internal auditor audit the CIP and make a presentation before the council. And again, the whole point is to build the public trust. It's the council that takes a hit if anything goes wrong. And so as part of expanding this, I'd like to time it with our internal auditor looking at our full CIP program.
Mayor, if you recall, we did have our internal auditor look at our CIP, and that's how we got to more accurate numbers to begin the spreadsheet process that Joe Don's been working off of. So, Joe Don, when did Frank Crawford look at that process? Was that February? I don't remember exactly when.
The date that I had where I talked to Mr. Crawford and had reports given to him, he'd been working on them well before when I got here, but he started the reports that I've been building off of in February.
Is it complete?
With the if we brought him in now, there's so much that has happened since that time with our projects. So many projects have been added, so many projects have been started. I'm afraid that he would basically have to start over because he's really been out of the loop primarily the whole tenure I've been here. He may be able to do something in conjunction with our citywide audit and have them, when they come in and start some of that citywide audit processes, to do that then and maybe verify numbers that we've got. But that'd probably be the most efficient way to get him the information that he needs while they're here.
So why don't we go this way? If city manager will arrange a meeting with me and the internal auditor, we'll have a discussion, we'll figure out a pathway forward. Council, thank you, Joe Don. Council, do you have any other comments or input for me on this? Mr. Burke.
I just have one that, you know, it always sounds good that we add more people to committees and and the outside sources are great, but understanding city type processes is not easy. And so to me, I'd rather that auditor be added as an ad hoc member to that committee, that would be part of their job, yes. Because they're the ones that know what in the heck's going on. And we can add all the CPAs we want or any of the legal people we want, but if they're like John, they're just gonna scratch their head and go ask somebody else. So, you know, I mean, he's a friend, so I can say that. But no, seriously, it really puts you in a bad position if you're a CPA coming in not knowing what our processes are. So the auditor, to me, sounds like the perfect scenario to keeping up with our books all the way along, so we never, ever have this again, where he's with us every single meeting.
Yeah, I think I like that idea. Ms. Hankin?
This may be too far off the subject, but I'd like to see, if we do another Citizens Academy, I'd like to see committees explained better. You know, they're from the wards so that the people in each ward can represent the opinions of the people in, like, Ward 1. But you've got to have a certain expertise in some cases to serve on committees. And so it's not always that easy, which, you know, I struggle with even, is to get the right people on the right committees. Because, you know, you wouldn't want to put me on a numbers committee, for example. I mean, but that's why we have this process. So the next, if we have another citizens committee, I'd like to see those committees explained a little better.
You're talking about the Citizen Academy? Mhm.
Yeah.
So in that regard, and I guess I can say it on this agenda item since it would apply to this agenda item, I personally think that the first meeting of the year of every committee, they should review what they're supposed to do, because I find so many committees do not even understand what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, Mayor, I want to comment on what Councilman Burke said. You know, in trying to crunch all this information to spit out the product that we're wanting, I think the input of information on that has to be a chore in itself. And I think that if you had an auditor that was already involved, then they could put the proper and know the proper information that we need to put into that to be able to get the information and the results that we want. Thank you.
So does everybody seem to like the auditor idea? Because I really like it. Does that sound pretty good?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I think that, at least the way I have always looked at audits and the timing of monies and things like that, especially at the government level, nobody knows what it is today. They know what it was yesterday, but there's no way we can ever have a meeting and say, here's where it is right now. We can say where it was last week.
Right.
But having that auditor there is gonna make that a lot closer to what reality is.
So, Mayor, if it please the council, I'll have Joe Don reach out to Frank Crawford and see if we can amend his scope of work. We already use him for internal auditing for the purposes of sitting on the CIP committee as a member and providing services in that capacity. And then we'll find out how much capacity he has. There are other people that can do this type of work. He's just been involved in it from the very beginning. He's the one that went back and looked through all the 15, 16 CIPs to make sure we carried everything forward as we were supposed to. So he's familiar with it, and I agree with Joe Don. He might have to come back up to speed for where we've been since we last met. But he would be the person to do it, in my opinion, and I will ask Joe Don to work with him and see if we can get him to do that.
And I'd still like to meet with him. Okay, and great input. And I do, along with Mr. Burke's comments, I wonder if these additional positions are needed if we have the auditor. And what I might do, if the council likes it, is maybe just make the one at-large position be somebody from the legal field. Does that sound reasonable? Okay, I think that's the way we'll put it together, visit with the auditor and. No, one. We'll stick with the same committee, but we'll add the auditor and we'll make the one at-large position somebody from the legal field.
So the auditor will be a part of the committee, and in addition to that, we'll have someone from the legal field.
I don't know that he'll be a voting part of the committee, but he'll be a part of the committee. Sound good? Okay, no action on that. We're going to move on to staff reports. Our presenter for item 11 is not here and driving in from the city. So we're going to move on to staff reports. Report from Parks and Recreation. Christine.
Good afternoon, Council. Just wanted to give you a quick update on where our
Good
consultant is with the Lakes Master Plan. As you are aware, back on August 10th, 2021, you guys approved the public service or the professional service agreement with Half and Associates to start the Lakes Master Plan. That includes the evaluation of both Lake Latonka and Lake Ellsworth. Since that time, Half and Associates has conducted on-site visits and has gathered substantial amount of data relating to the lakes and the operation. On October 17th, 2022, we held our first public input meeting for the lakes to gather information regarding what amenities or improvements the public would like to see. That was a huge turnout. It was quite overwhelming to see everyone who came out there. It was refreshing to see the number of people who came out to be part of that public input meeting. And as a result of that, it is going to take the consultant a little bit more time to work through all that feedback. And so we also from that determined that we probably will need additional input meetings. And so that again has kind of pushed back the timeline. Half and Associates will be here December 6th to give a detailed presentation on the status of the Lakes Master Plan and give their schedule to finalize the project. So we will know a lot more December 6th when they're here to present to council. Also on December 6th, we will be bringing the first 2 task orders to you guys for approval. Back on September 27th of this year, the council approved the public service agreement for a task-based orders. The first 2 task orders are the Aquatics Master Plan and then the revision to the Elmer Thomas Master Plan to include the Aquatics Center. So those 2 will be coming back to you on December 6th also. And shortly after that, we will have task order 3 and 4, which is Lee West Park and East Side Park. So, any questions?
I think Mr. Fortenbaugh's got a question on lakes.
I don't really have a question about it, but I'm getting a lot of phone calls from lake residents right now. If it's okay, yeah, it's okay to talk about this. Okay. It's my understanding there's 225 leases at the Schoolhouse Slough right now. And people are calling me over and over again and saying, we don't know what's going on, we don't know who to pay. We do know that the current contractor is leaving December 31st. We're really getting close to the wire on this thing, and it just looks like a disaster coming. Because I think I heard the city was going to take over all of those leases, at least initially.
I can address that if you'd like.
Oh, yeah.
Let me just give you an update. We've been working with the current concessionaire on trying to obtain his a list of all the leases so that we can identify who the tenants are. You'll recall in a previous meeting that you authorized us to put together a temporary lease extension. Legal has put that together now, so we've got that available. We just received yesterday the final 225 front pages of all of those leases with contact information on the tenants, what exactly they're paying and how and what particular piece of property that they're leasing, whether it be a dry stall, a camper, wet stall, whatever it may be. So we have staff right now. In fact, my executive assistant is putting all that into a spreadsheet that we can do a mail merge and get a letter drafted and sent to every single tenant, notifying them of the status of the situation and offering them an opportunity to extend their lease by a period of 4 months with an opportunity to do a month-to-month extension beyond that if we're not at a point where we know what direction we're going to go. So once we get the master plan completed, we bring that back to the council. Council decides on what direction they want staff to go, whether or not it's to go out for another lease or us to take it over and run the facility ourselves. Once we get through that, then we can identify, what the cost of the leases would be going forward, or if there's any changes that you'd like to make.
Did I hear December 31st?
The leases expire December 31st. The new leases that we will be extending, the extensions would be a 4-month window. We think that that'll be enough time to get through the process of the Lake Master Plan, bring a recommendation back to council for moving forward and what that's going to look like. If we're not quite through with that, we are including a provision in the contract or in the lease extension to extend that period on a month-to-month basis beyond that till we can find out.
So does the December 31st date include the concession, the store?
All of it.
So what happens on December 31st to the store?
Our lake staff is prepared to operate in the absence of a concessionaire. We've not discussed the store. We were hoping that we would get some of this information a little bit quicker, but it's been tough.
So 30 days from now, we're going to be in the convenience store business.
Unless, for God's
can't
sakes, I
say
hope
yes,
not.
we will.
You know, the committee that I was on when we raised the prices for Schoolhouse Lou and doing all of that, and we met and made a new agreement, which is the one that's fixing to expire. You know, one of the things we talked about was city taking it over anyway and collecting the rents. We are losing our tail end, and we should be doing it. We should have been doing it years ago, but we were in the middle of a lease that was a disaster, and so thank goodness we're to this point. As far as the concession, we need to get that ready to go out to bid because we need somebody to run that store because we don't know how. Okay, I'm just telling you right now. And we can collect rent, but we don't want to be selling bread and beer. So, you know, and it's busy, and then you're out there all weekend and all night, and, you know, it gets really busy at certain times of the year, as you well know. I think you're right. I think at certain points of the year, it pretty well shuts down. They have very limited hours, if any at all anymore, during the winter months, because they weren't having any business, you know, really to speak of. Because there's a store right there above the hill that's open year-round. So it pretty much takes the lion's share of the business, and there's not a million boats going in there to buy the beer. So, and then we need to make sure that whatever we do with the people that take that over, that we get the right numbers, and we have a way to audit that, because that's how we make our money. So we got to think of the right way to do this. Do we do it as a percentage of sales, or do we do it as a flat rate? And I think we need to think of that as a council as what's best for us and what's best for the citizens, because, you know, that's who pays for this year-round if it's not, you know, done right. And so, anyway, it's good to hear that we're finally getting to that point. I think we've been thinking about this for a long time, and getting it back to here sounds good to me. But just again, I think we really better start thinking about getting something out there for the store, because March will be here before you know it, and we'll be having spring, and people will be going back to the lake.
How long have we known that he wasn't going to renew his lease or send us notice of, I don't know how it works. Is that the end of the lease, or did he give us notice that he's not staying?
I think he approached legal. Is it your department initially, John?
We heard about it. I don't think he approached us.
We've been working on this for several months. It's been a difficult process. The existing contract, whoever built that contract did not do the city any favors. I can tell you that. And it's getting through that process, looking at how this lease is supposed to end, and whether or not a new concessionaire takes over or whether we take over. Those are all decisions that are going to have to be made. We anticipated being further down the road with the master plan so that we could get that completed, and we could use that as guidance to provide that recommendation to the mayor and council. As it stands right now, the first public input session that we probably had 250 people downstairs, and it was extremely chaotic. There was a lot of feedback that they're going to have to get through. As far as the store goes, I will tell you that I've been approached that Mr. Waller's willing to do a month-to-month. I don't know whether that means the store only or whatever it is. We're prepared to take on doing the collection on the actual camping leases and all of those. That's not going to be that difficult for us to do. The store is another another story. We do have an expert, a resident, not a resident, but an individual that is available to us that can come down and basically coach us through the entire process of what that concessionaire, how it's supposed to run, and that's recommended from Half Associates.
So what I was trying to get at was, has December 31st always been the date since he gave us notice? And if it's been a period of time, why do we find ourselves within 60 days and we haven't come up with a way to bid out the store? Now, the current concessionaire staying month to month is certainly agreeable to me if you can work something out, but I spent 25 years in the convenience store business. As a citizen of Lawton, I don't want the city of Lawton in the convenience store business. So I'm really going to be concerned with moving forward in that arena.
Mayor.
Yes.
Mr. Waller told me that he gave notice to the city in February. I don't know if that's true or not. So we've had a long time to deal with this. I really feel, I just doesn't feel right for the city to take that over, only because 225 leases, and those guys out there, the people on the leases, some of them are monthly, some of them are quarterly, some of them are annually. It is absolutely chaotic. They get up one day and say, hey, Bob, I'm going to switch sites with you, and they move their trailers around. And Waller has to keep up with all that stuff going on. I think he hand reads all the meters out there for electricity. So it makes me worry about staffing that we have in the city. I know the 5 people out there couldn't possibly, I don't think they could manage this. That's all I think.
Mr. Warren.
I haven't talked to any other council people about this, so I don't know where anybody else is at. All I can tell you is that as far as I'm concerned, beginning January 1st, the lake's going to be a different place. The lake is a method for the citizens of Lawton to have a water source, and it's a method for the citizens of Lawton to have a recreational area that pays for itself eventually. And the only way you do that is you spend money there. And if we're going to spend money there, things are going to be different as far as I'm concerned. We're going to do things differently. I mean, you can travel all over the state of Oklahoma to other lakes, to other state lakes. They don't look like our lake does. They aren't run the way our lakes run. It's going to have to be different because we can't spend the kind of money that it's going to take, because we're talking millions of dollars that it will take to make that lake, those 2 lakes, someplace that people want to drive across the state to go to. And that's where they fund themselves. So basically, you either do nothing and you have nothing, or you do a lot and you have to charge for that. And in order to make it worthwhile for people to drive over here and to pay those prices, we have to make it nice. So it's going to have to change. Now, you're right, I don't think we want to run a store, but I think we need to take control of those leases, because that whole deal of swapping spots and all that is going to have to stop. There's going to be a whole lot, there's 227 people out there that don't like to hear that, but it's going to stop. It's not functional to create a recreational experience that we want to create at those lakes. I think we have the ability to handle the leasing part. Software will go a long ways to make that work. But I think we do need to find someone, whether it's the current gentleman or somebody else, to do it for a period of time anyway, until we can figure out what we want to do as far as the convenience gasoline issue that we've got out there. Because it's not just the Schoolhouse Slough. It's Schoolhouse Slough, it's Robinson's Landing, it's the facilities at Ellsworth. We're going to get a comprehensive plan, and we need to be ready to talk to the citizens, and the citizens are going to have to invest the money. I said that just to say we don't need to run a convenience store.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hampton.
Yeah, later, I'm gonna be checking on that, question about hatch.
Okay.
The only thing I wanted to say was, even if we had to close and keep it closed for a few months until we could get that store part handled, as far as doing the leases, we thought we could do that for years, even when we had
We absolutely can.
we absolutely can. We absolutely absorb that money, absolutely spend that money back on the lake exactly where it should have been being spent all along, instead of for somebody else to go on big trips. So, to me, you know, it's been an anger thing for me for many, many years. I think a lot of people in Lawton are angry about it. But I will say this, you know, we got to do a good job. We can't just do a halfway job. And we got to make the people that live out there, that use that out there, that have those trailers, have the buy-in from us. That, hey, we're going to come out there, not with a big hammer, but we're going to come out there and we're going to work this out together as a group, you know, instead of just taking over. But Robinson's Landing is not included in his lease at all that I'm aware of. So that's a whole different animal that's, you know, by itself again. But, you know, please do it right. You know, please get it right this time, for the first time in how many years now? Just get it right.
I was just referring to all the facilities that we have to deal with.
You know, if we recall, when we first proposed the Parks and Rec master plan, the lakes were a part of that component, and at the time we chose not to pursue that. So we're behind the curve a little bit on the lakes portion of it, and we're trying to catch up. We'll take whatever direction council gives, and we'll execute that action. But we did get a little bit of a late start on the lakes portion of the master plan.
Mayor, I do have a comment. I would just add that we've also been pretty diligent about contacting Mr. Waller. We've, you know, as far back as August, we were asking for the leases. We finally got the leases yesterday. So we've anticipated this date has been coming. We've been tracking it, at least my office has been, at least since May. So we're working towards it, and we're trying to work with this individual, but all of the information hasn't exactly been forthcoming either.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
So I know the current concessionaire, and in conversations with him, he has said if push comes to shove, that he could continue on temporarily till we get everything transitioned. So I think that possibility is there. I don't want us to have to go there, but if we do, then at least that option's there, so we don't have a disaster come January 1st.
Yeah, Dwayne, there is going to be some more public meetings like we had for those people that are doing the leases, because I think that if I remember, that a lot of them were there because they were concerned about the lease, what was going to happen with the leasing, weren't they?
That's correct. At that meeting, there was an announcement made that we would get have more of a focus group, what they called stakeholders, although I don't know if that's really the appropriate term, because I think we're all stakeholders. That's a city lake.
Yes.
But you do have certain entities that are kind of dug in out there. You've got the boathouse group, and you've got the schoolhouse slough, you've got yacht club and boat club. I mean, there's a bunch of people out there that have their own little niche around that lake that it's going to affect. I was just asking Christie, and we're trying to find the numbers, but our gym system is completely gone. So we have no way to go back really and look at the amount of income that's generated. What we've found so far is about 10 to 12,000 a quarter. So 50,000 a year, maybe. And the numbers that we got on the initial lease payments is with the dry storage, wet storage, campers, and all that stuff, was about 700,000 in income. Right. So that gives you some degree of what the measurement of the income versus what we're actually getting paid. So
right.
It's
no doubt that Councilman Warren's right. It's going to be a whole new system for those that are out there, and that transition, like Councilman Burke was saying, we want to have our eggs in a row when we set up and we're ready to set in the new system, whatever it be, however much change that will be. But I was just wondering, because that input meeting, all of them were concerned about
I had
at
several
that part
fingers
of it.
shook in my face that night, but that's okay. We've got a lot of cleanup to do out there too. There's a lot of things that are not what I would consider legally appropriate for around the lake. I mean, septic systems and things like that that aren't supposed to be there. There's a lot that has to be fixed, and I mean a lot.
Okay, so on December 6th, we're going to have the Elmer Thomas conceptual drawings master plan and the aquatics master plan come back to council. Is that right?
No, it's just the proposal, the task order. It was council's discretion to let us know that we weren't going to spend any money until those task orders come back to you. So those task orders are coming back with the proposal on what it would take to do that.
And that was my question, Mayor, and that's that.
To authorize the spending of that money.
Yeah, this
for
is
that
not an
task.
action item. This is more of
This is just a report
providing-
today. But
providing
on the 6th.
an update.
You'll be asked to accept that task order, and that would be approving spending those funds for them to go do that.
I'm a little bit confused. We talked months ago about having these back by the end of the year, ready to take action.
And we put that request in with HAF, and they have had some turnover there, and so we just got those task orders just this week. So as soon as I could get them on the council would have been for the December 6th meeting.
I'm disappointed. Anything else, council? Okay, now we have, thank you very much. We have discussed crime statistics and crime trends. Chief Smith. Chief Smith.
Mayor, City Council, good afternoon. Hope you're not too disappointed. What Will is passing out is some crime stats. And the bottom line, crime is up a little bit, and just want to explain why. The top page, in July of 2020, we went to a new reporting system. We were reporting with the Uniform Crime Report, which the FBI has been carrying those numbers for quite some time. So they went to a different reporting system called the state or the national incident-based reporting system. Now, the first sheet that you have, it has the Uniform Crime Report numbers for half the year. We went in fiscal years from July the 1st of 2020 through December of 2020. The second page, that's when we did the switchover, is the numbers from cybers. And the difference in the reporting system, I don't want to get into a lot of numbers, but the difference in the reporting system is that the Uniform Crime Report, they recorded Part 1 and Part 2 crimes. Part 1 crimes were your murders, your aggravated assaults, robberies, burglaries, and stuff like that. And Uniform Crime Report, they did what they call the hierarchy rule, which means that if you had a homicide, a burglary, and a robbery in one incident, they only recorded at one major incident, the homicide. In the NIBRS report, it recorded everything. So if you had a homicide, a robbery, and a burglary, those are 3 incidents. So that's the reason why our crimes are up a little bit in reporting. Now, nationwide, crime is up. Violent crime has been up. Larceny has been up. Of course, thefts from cars have been up. The catalytic converters, and they've been stealing copper out of air conditioners, as a lot of y'all have know that. But for the most part, here locally, our violent crimes have been down some, but that's just the numbers that we have reported for the last periods. And just to give you some good news in it, for the past 2 years, in 2021, we have had 11 homicides. 10 of those have been solved. And so far this year, we've had 15 homicides, and 14 of those have been resolved. So for 2021, we have solved 90% of our homicides. For so far this year, we have solved 93% of our homicides. The national average for a solvability rate for homicides nationwide is 61%. So our team has been working very diligently. Our uniform patrol, our homicide detectives, and our CSI people have all gotten together and worked very diligently in solving those crimes. Also, another good news story I'd like to share with you. So far, we have had 6 fatals. In July of this year, we had a hit and run fatal out on the interstate, where a young teenage girl got killed by a hit and run driver. Our traffic unit, they pieced together that accident by the side mirror of that truck. They identified the type of vehicle that it came from, and they went down to the toll booth station at Walters and looked through hours of video and identified the truck as it came through. Make a long story short, they identified the truck, they tracked it all the way down to Mexico and knew exactly when he crossed over the border. They put a warrant out for the individual, found out he lived in Chicago. They put a warrant out for him. 3 weeks later, he crossed the border, and the agents stopped him, held him. We went down and got him, and he was deposited in our jail. And that's just a Reader's Digest version of the hard work that their traffic unit did. But they pieced together that hit and run fatal off of a side mirror off of the vehicle. So they did a really good job. So pending your questions.
Yeah, I do have some questions.
Yes, sir.
Because right here on my phone is the report I received from you before I did the State of the City. And it shows a decrease in all of these areas. And let me read the areas to you. It is murder, non-negligent manslaughter. It shows a 8.3% decrease on this. Forcible rape, a 25.5% decrease. This is 2021 versus 21-22. 51% decrease in robbery, 32% decrease in aggravated assault, 25% decrease in burglary, 91% increase in larceny, 16% decrease in motor vehicle theft, 26% decrease in DUI. And then I used this when I was doing State of the City, and I used this last night when I was on TV and said crime is down.
Yes.
And then you come and tell us crime is up. So I'm a little confused because your numbers also end at the same time that this report right here ends. So I'm a little bit confused and a little bit embarrassed about what I've said publicly.
No, sir, you don't have to be embarrassed. The numbers are a little confusing because, like what I was saying, we're using 2 different reporting systems. The state is gathering the numbers And when we switched over to a different reporting system, those numbers are going to be a little different. But our overall crime is down.
That's not what I thought I heard you say when you opened your talk. I thought I heard you say crime is up.
Yes, sir. In some areas, crime is up. And like I was talking about in our thefts of copper out of the air conditionings, the catalytic converters. So in some areas, crime is up.
So you're telling me that what I said on TV last night and what I said in the State of the City was accurate?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to hear. Now, let me ask you this. What are we doing about the increase in, well, first of all, I like this report better. It shows the actual decrease in percentages, which is very impressive. And I think very much would make our citizens feel good to have these numbers here that show the decreases that I just read. Now, as far as the one increase, what are we doing about those catalytic converter thefts? Is there a way to prevent that and attack it differently, and also those air conditioner thefts?
Well, we're doing several things. Well, one of the things, we are encouraging owners to what we call harden their target. And of course, it's not always up to the owners to build a barrier around their property, but we always encouraging people to secure the property a lot better. But we also are doing a saturated patrols in those areas where there has been some theft. We also are working with our salvage yards, because they're supposed to be reporting all of those items that they are taking in. So we're doing several different things.
Mayor and council, I also add to Chief's comments that there's some recent changes in state law
Right,
that
I
I
was gonna
think
say
are good in this area. So now there's a waiting period. I think it's either 48 or 72 hours when you go and you try to get money for a catalytic converter. There's a waiting period, and they've also eliminated cash payments for those. So they mail a check now, and so the hope is that with these criminal law code changes that might help curtail some of this activity as well.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Chief, I'm just curious, or actually, John, this might be a question for you. Can we pass a law that says you can't buy used catalytic converters if you're a recycler here in town?
I don't think we could outright ban it. I mean, there are legal and justifiable reasons that people would sell those, and there is a secondhand market for it. So I don't know that we could issue an outright ban. I don't think that'd be realistic.
So John, you and I were talking recently. Didn't the state, or is the state proposing a change to state ordinances that require basically a waiting period, an ID, and also they issue paper checks now, so it's no longer a cash type sale?
Yes.
Mr. Burke.
Well, years ago, if you remember, Chief, I think you were here then, that the council voted that, and we changed our rules here locally, and the state kind of followed suit in the fact if you're selling HVAC equipment, torn out condensers and things like that, you must bring with you a mechanical contractor's license to be able to do that and to get that payment. Now, I will tell you, because I've gone to pick up my payments on stuff that I didn't steal anything. It was the stuff we take out. Yes, and we have to scrap it all down, because of federal laws. But we made it here locally where they just couldn't bring it in and just scrap it. And, a lot of the junkyard guys didn't like it, but they then had to say, who are you? Write out a ticket, put their ID with it, right, and said, where is your mechanical license, your heating and air license? Not journeyman, not apprentice, because I've had guys steal stuff from me and try to go scrap it. Getting back to this report, I have one question, because this has always been a skewed thing for us as far as the city. A lot of times in this report, we also get the prison statistics into our report. So whatever happens, because that's in the city limits, out at the prison, is then included into our numbers. Do we have a way to pull those numbers out so that we can say, you know, because I could care less what goes on at that prison, but I do care what goes on in the city of Lawton. And so whatever goes inside of that fence, I'm fine with. That's on them. But the rest of this, that might really unskew some of our numbers and make it a realistic number for what crime, because if they have an assault out there, it's still filed as an assault. If they have a homicide out there, it's still filed as a homicide. So it may very well be that our numbers aren't what we think they are.
You know, and that's true.
Can you fix it?
No, sir. Their numbers.
When they give you the number, can you say, no, okay, I'm not putting that in my report?
Well, but that location is still within the city limits.
Well, I understand that. I understand the state's going to say that's us, but what if we said, these numbers that come out of here are prison junk, and we're not putting it in our report. We're gonna put asterisks around those numbers. This is from the prison. This homicides, there was 4. This number of you know, whatever.
You know, we can look at it.
I think it would help you, Chief.
We can still count those numbers, but we can put it off to the side.
Exactly.
And say, okay.
I think that'd be something everybody here would want to know.
There's a lot of value to that, and our Chamber of Commerce and our school system can advertise the real numbers and explain that that's the prison. I think there's real value in
that. First, I want to say thank you, Chief, and to Officer Blessing. They came out to a meeting that we had, Citizens with Solutions, to address the catalytic converter and AC unit damages to a lot of the churches. And that was a really good outcomes with that meeting. And, you know, everyone in the room agreed that not only does it fall on the shoulders of the officers, but also on the citizens. So if we see something unusual, if we see someone that's, you know, pedaling down the street or dragging this stuff down the street, we need to report that as well, because that will help to kind of eliminate some of this. But I really like the fact that the state now requires some other things, because then that will deter, you know, a lot of people from committing these particular crimes. So thank you.
It's a good thing I don't take notes, because there was a whole bunch of stuff I wanted to say, but I forgot half of it. One of the things is, I like the idea about the prison, but we also have to also realize that there's a cost to the citizens of Lawton when those crimes occur at the prison, because we have to respond to those, and there is some cost to us. So I don't think we cannot report it, but I think the idea of an asterisk is a good idea.
One good thing that has helped us is that when they have the serious crimes out there, the assaults and the homicides, we're not doing the investigation. A state agency is coming down and doing the investigation. If they need our assistance, we'll come over and help them, but that has really helped us with manpower. So we're not sending a lot of people out there. A lot of times when they have a homicide out there, we'll tie up our CID, maybe about 3 or 4 detectives doing that. But that has helped us tremendously.
Good deal.
But one of the things that we do work is some visitors come and try to bring contraband in, we still go out there.
Okay, so we could, and those crimes would be, we could put an asterisk by those crimes also.
Yes.
Yes. Whether it was possession or.
But that has really, in a way, that has helped us, because with the detectives, they have been able to get more information and got a lot of fentanyl pills off the street. Our last fentanyl bust that we got is because somebody was bringing something out there, and they led us to something else.
Somebody else.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. The only other thing I had was back to catalytic converters is, and I don't know anybody that's buying those, but the value of something is determined by what somebody's willing to pay. And regardless of what we do as far as making laws against it, whether at the local or state level, there's still going to be some guy out there that's throwing them in a U-Haul and taking them to Mexico or wherever. So that's not to say that there couldn't be sting operations and things just like there are with drugs. So, you know, we can control our salvage yards real well, and they're real good about helping. But there's still going to be those guys out there that's willing to pay for them.
It's a quick crime, isn't it, Chief? I mean, it doesn't take very long to get a catalytic converter off, and that can be done in a pretty public place, too. So my
Yes, ma'am.
son-in-law had his stolen from the airport in Dallas. So it happens.
Mr. Hampton.
Yeah, I just want to, Chief, I just want to thank you and all the officers, because I really do feel like that our city is real safer. Working with the people in your officers' neighborhood watch, we've done a lot of good work over in our ward with some very serious things that were happening. The dog that got burned. So I appreciate you guys diligent and caring about the public safety of our citizens. And I just want to give you some feedback from our neighborhood that you guys have made a real strong effort, and the citizens are happy about it.
Thank you.
Bottom line, crime is down. Please take this back to the officers.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Now we'll move to item 11. Receive the organizational leadership assessment findings of consultant Kyle Killingsworth and take any action council deems appropriate. Kyle, I see somebody clued you in on having the pen on. Very good.
Yes, you did, Mr. Mayor. And I might add that he committed, if he ever caught me in the city, he would find me. And you know what? I believe him. I do. Again, my name's Kyle Killingsworth. I'm a resident of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and a business consultant there. I have a practice based in Oklahoma City. And I was engaged by the council to perform an organizational assessment. And a piece of that organizational assessment was about leadership assessment. And that's primarily personality driven. And so I think it'd be more appropriate to discuss that in executive session, as it may relate to job performance, evaluation of individual council employees and their relationship with the council. I will say this, that I did discover and identify some organizational inefficiencies, and those recommendations for improving those inefficiencies will come at a later date when that's scheduled. However, I did want to mention a couple of trends that were more specific, and I'll deal with those more specifically at a later date. At a high level, there seems to be a lack of communication among the council. Several comments were made about that. Council's shying away from having what I call crucial conversations and holding responsible parties accountable. There seems to be a lack there, and there seems to be a lack of relationship building activities between the council and even the council's employees. As I mentioned, I'll bring recommendations later. Those recommendations would include learning and development activities for council member and council employees, and those will be, again, previewed at a later date.
Any questions? Okay, thank you very much. And that moves us up to executive session. Do I have a motion to go into executive session? So moved. Motion and a second.
Mayor, I recommend that we strike this agenda item. There's some legal concerns here, so my recommendation at this time is to strike it, and I can discuss those at a later point.
Okay, we'll strike it. Item 12, that moves us to adjournment. Caught you guys off guard and you had trouble adjourning, didn't you? We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Fortenbaugh. Johnson. Warren. Hankins. Harris. Chapman. Burke. Hampton.